On the finals, you played against both these teams this year, the Warriors and the Celtics. In your mind, if you could just talk about the specific sort of strength or strengths having played against them that you see for both teams.
Man. So I'll start with Warriors. I mean, you got Steph, Klay, Draymond right there. And then you got young Poole who's going to come in and he's super confident and they let him play. And he just all play together. They 0.5 and it's just crazy how they play. And it's so tough to guard because it's just Draymond, every time he gets it, it's like, and with Draymond, like do you press up? Do you guard him up because you want him to shoot? But then if you don't guard him, he'll pass up a wide open three. And as basketball players, like you're not used to it sometimes. So like you could guard Steph and Klay for 15 seconds. They throw it to Draymond at the top of the key. And then you're finding like, okay, Draymond's open. He's going to shoot. Like I could relax for maybe like 0.5 a second. Like Steph, Klay, they're probably not going to crash. So even if he does shoot it, like I don't got to worry about tagging. I'm just going to stay here, be ready for the rebound or something. He's going to come right back to them. And that point, that split second you stop, it's a tray. It's two people come up on ball. Either he keeps it or he hits Steph or Klay and they find him. And it's just, they got everything, man. And they guard, team defense, they're really well coached with Steve Kerr. So it's tough. They got a lot of weapons, a lot of shooters, a lot of spacing. And then, Looney's been there and he's been playing well for them. And they got their big down there. And that's just, who's been there, who's been through this and knows how to play in their system and knows how to play the right way. So, I mean, they're loaded over there. And in Boston, it's so crazy. I remember watching them when they weren't playing that well and they kind of started getting that rhythm. I remember I was just watching, I'm like, yeah, man, because all them dudes out there can guard. Sometimes if you look at Tatum and Brown, like, yeah, I understand because they get the ball a lot. And sometimes maybe in regular season, they don't give enough effort defensively. You know what I'm saying? Like they got the ball all the time. But I'm like, they can guard. I mean, they're athletes. They got size, and I know they can guard. So once they put it together with Marcus Smart and Al Horford and Robert Williams and Grant, like it's crazy. And I watched them come together and they probably realize and talk like, listen, like for us to be better, like Tatum, Brown, like I know y'all are guys, our go-to, but y'all have to guard too. And I promise you nobody can really score on us. And that's what they did, man. They got athletes, they got people who can guard, and their coach, man, he's getting them right. And they got scores and defense, bro. It's gonna be a hell of a series. I don't know, bro. That's crazy.
It is going to be a hell of a series. I'm really excited about it. I pulled up some stats on the Warriors ball movement, so I'm glad you brought that up. This is just from this season. According to Second Spectrum. So for NBA rank, so assist percentage, they have the highest rank in the NBA on his assist percentage. Dribbles per touch, they have the fewest dribbles per touch in the NBA. Average touch length, 2.8 seconds. The shortest average touch length in the NBA. And hockey assists, the most hockey assists in the NBA. So to your point about that quarter of a second, half of a second relaxing against them, you can't do it. Draymond, when he was on the podcast, talked about the simple value, the underrated value of a swing pass. And the way they're able to, and a lot of it, of course, has to do with the threat of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, but the way they're able to shift defenses just by moving the ball and by moving bodies. It's not a track meet because you're not running in one direction, but in some ways it is a track meet because you're constantly moving and constantly running, trying to chase those guys and chase the ball.
Yeah, and I think to piggyback off that, the biggest thing is like 5 guys has to be on the same string defensively against them. Like if one guy is not locked in, they're going to violate. Like every single person has to know everything about if Steph come off a dribble handoff going left, or this come out this way, or this, like, everybody has to know. And if you don't, they're going to pick you apart. And they got, like you said, you got like the threat of Steph and Klay is just nuts. And, Wiggins hooping and everything. It's just like everybody has to be together. If not, they're going to find open man every single time, or you leave them open, they're going to make the shot. Like, you leave them open. Don't just some guys leave open. Whatever. Every time one of them dudes leave it open, you're just like, fuck. Then they miss. You're like, all right, thank God. And they're okay with it. Like, okay, yeah, we got exactly what we want. We missed. We're gonna get it again. And just gotta have everybody on the string. If not, this is gonna be tough.
My question for you guys on the flip side of this is, JJ knows this well with these two guys. The Celtics, Jaylen and Jayson in particular, are two of the best at just hunting matchups and hunting small guards in the playoffs. And they've done it, since they've come into the league. What do you think with Poole, with Steph, with some of those guys? How do you hide them? How do you have Poole on the court, when these guys are going to be looking for him?
Same thing you do, man. They're scout. I don't, I'm not in there and they know, but they're scout. They probably got it to the science, and it's all team basketball. They get to switch. I think against the Dallas series, like, Steph was hedging, and then, like, he'll switch, but that they're always they all know what they're doing, and that helps with Steve Kerr being there helping them, and everybody who's been there. Draymond, all of them guys, they've been there for a while. So, we have guys who's been together. It's easier. It's just like how it is in college. You have a team full of seniors. Like, it's going to be tough to beat them.
Steph, for the most part so far in these playoffs, when they've targeted him with star players, he has shown on the pick and roll. And in the Dallas series, towards the end of the series, he did switch a little more frequently. But his defense, honestly, is underrated. Like, he's been a solid defender for a number of years, and I would actually classify him as a good defender. I don't think he's necessarily a weak point. Now, in certain matchups, of course, against Tatum, if he's got Tatum on a wing isolated, yeah, maybe that's a problem, which is why Draymond Green is going to 2-9 it over and over again. They might send help. Like, again, Steph has had so many deep playoff runs with this team. They have all the schemes to make it possible. I think Poole's the guy where he's so valuable to them offensively. At times, it's going to be a little bit of an exercise in how much are you willing to give up on the defensive end because of how good he is offensively. I want to go back because I had 3 things written down that I want to talk about this series with, and I want to go back a little bit on the switching and the ball movement, right? Because the Warriors obviously have seen every defense at an elite level. And the Celtics, we talk about their switch rate all the time. So they're the number 1 switch frequency in the regular season, number 2 switch frequency in the postseason. They actually switched the most in the NBA on ball screens. And so far in the playoffs, on ball screens versus switches, the Warriors offense have the lowest points per possession. So I think the ball movement side of things is where the Warriors are going to tend to go. Al Horford, of all the high volume big guy switches, big guys that have switched this season, I believe has the lowest field goal percentage on switches, lowest points per possession. So you're not going to necessarily attack guys. You're not going to target guys against the Celtics. So to me, it comes down to ball movement, and that's really where the Warriors, I think, are different than anybody else. That they can play in this way with their post splits, their high splits, using the top lock against you to get back cuts for Klay. And look, they led the league in made layups on cuts this year. Like, this is the counter to switching Steph Curry pick and rolls. Like, and again, like I brought this up when we talked about the clutch thing with Luka. Like, Steph is great in isolation. It's not like Steph can't score in isolation. But I think against this Celtics team, you've got to be able to wear them down with body and player movement.
For sure. I agree, because that's what I was going to say. I'm like, the biggest thing I think they're going to run is get a ball top and do a run on the splits. And then you said the post splits, and I didn't even think, I forgot about that. Like, yeah, hit the ball in the post, and then they all cut, move. They just play, man, and they just read and react. And the thing is, they got every single guy that comes out there buys in. And if you're not, Draymond, I'm going to be on your ass anyway, so you you better anyway. So they just all buy in, bro. And it's just from top to bottom. You see it when guys go out and guys come in, like they play really well just because they know they role and they play 0.5 and they move the ball so much. It's like you're confident. Like when Gary Payton, I know, like I watch him all the time. Like he's confident all the time. And if I give it up like 5 steps in him, like it's Steph, it's Klay. Like motherfuckers gonna have 2 on them. Like if I pass a cut, like I'm gonna get a dunk and I'm gonna dunk on somebody. He scratches his fucking head on people every single time. Like he's just gonna, like he's confident, bro. He knows they play so off the ball and everybody touches the ball. So
I think the one interesting thing about the Celtics, it's sort of in direct opposition to specifically the Nuggets series and the Mavs series, is that when Steph is in those pick and rolls, you don't have to double with high frequency. And against the Mavs, against the Nuggets, they tore them apart on that throwback to Draymond, the throwback to Kevon Looney, 4-on-3 downhill, making plays. They're so good at, you mentioned Gary Payton a second, like they're so good at that corner cut on the double side where the X guy is sitting in position on the weak side. I'm going to take the first pass out to the perimeter. Gary Payton will just cut. Aaron Drew Wiggins will just cut right behind you. Draymond hits him for a layup. So there's not. I think maybe they do double at times. I'm not saying they're never going to double, but they have the defenders where for a large portion of the game, you're willing to live with Steph at times making difficult shots over Al Horford or Robert Williams II or Grant Williams. Like, I'm not saying they're never going to double, but I think they have the defenders where, we're going to live with that. Al Horford does a good enough job. We're going to live that. The other thing I want to talk about, small thing for the third team. The other thing I really want to talk about, the thing I want to watch is the clutch time. And you know this because the Suns for the regular season were the best clutch time team in the league. And you guys were awesome in the first round in clutch time against the Pelicans as well. The Celtics are not good in clutch time. They are not good. They were 13 for 22 in the regular season. Going into Game 7 against the Miami Heat, they were 1-4. And let's be honest, that shouldn't have been a clutch game because they basically gave away a double-digit lead that went down to that Jimmy Butler shot. Tatum has struggled all season in the clutch, 2 for 25 on threes, 13 turnovers, 7 assists. To me, this is where I think the Warriors potentially have an advantage in close games, is just that experience, that corporate knowledge. Steph Curry, of course, but that's potentially where they could have an advantage.
Hey, that's a great. I didn't know that about Boston at all. That's actually a wild stat.
What do you think from being on a team that performs so well in the clutch? Like, what are like the elements that you guys had that made it so good? Whether it was attention to detail, maybe it's just CP. I don't know. But like there's a formula, I think, team to team. There's a formula for performing well in the clutch.
CP and Book. I think it's just it's them two. And when you saw CP Game 6, against freaking Pelicans with didn't even miss a shot. I did not miss one single shot. So it's not like you're getting wide open layups every time or wide open shots. Like, he's hitting crazy shots. And that's just talent and just being fearless. And him, same with Book. Like, I'm just always confident if it's a close game and it's going down to the end, us winning, because I know offensive end, you got Book and CP ready to go score. But the thing is, they'll make a play for another person. And the other dudes out there, like me, Cam, Jay, DA, everybody, like, we're ready. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're amped. And for me, I'm on the other end really guarding. So, like, on the defensive end, I feel like once we score, like, it's going to be tough to score on us. You know what I'm saying? Like, either in a pick and roll, and I feel like we're me and DA just is really good. And if even they get to switch, we help each other. And then we know that in their mind, they know they have to score, because if they don't, Senior Book is going to score another anyway. So it's more pressure to feel like, oh shit, like we're down 2. If we don't make this shot, it's like a minute 30 left or 2 minutes. Like, fuck, we're about to give them another bucket. Like, another bucket. Either they're going to foul him or they're going to hit the shot. So it's it's those two guys, man, and everybody else being ready. And it also Mont just, making plays, calling right plays and then letting us hoop, drawing plays up receive for this and that, and drawing plays for Book and getting great looks. So credit to them.
I think this is a decent time. I just want to bring up right here in this moment the Jimmy Butler pull-up three-pointer. Tommy and I watched the game together on Sunday night at my house, and we just thought like he missed a shot, and then over the next 24 hours, there was this I thought it was weird sort of backlash and Monday morning quarterback questioning his shot selection. I'm telling you, at the time, we didn't make anything of that shot. We just like, he missed a pull-up three.
He missed a good
space. Look. Yeah. Were you surprised that he took that? I mean, I didn't think anything of it at the time. I want to know your thoughts.
I'm fine because if he made it, nobody's saying anything. Nobody's gonna be like, "Oh, that's a bad shot," but hey, at least he made it. Like, no, everybody gonna say it's fucking Jimmy buckets, and that's what the hell he do. So yeah, and of course they say what they want to say now after he misses, but I don't know. Jimmy just gets me weird sometimes because we go back years to when he was with Philly playing with you guys, and I love that Jimmy. Because this motherfucker would shoot step back threes, everything. He's scoring all levels. He gets Miami, he starts playing like a big sometimes. He just posts, people keep going under, and he's just like get a rescreen and just scoring the paint and stuff. I don't know what happened, but I just feel like I don't know why he stopped doing what he was always doing in Philly because shit, it's like not like he's shooting 20 from three, like he should like shit cash. So I don't know why. So I'm weird with Jimmy with that part, but for me, he's hooping game 7 at home, and he felt like you ask him, I bet you he didn't think he was gonna miss, and he's not gonna shoot and think he's gonna miss it. And I like it.
We haven't had Jimmy on in over 2 years since March of 2020, and it's actually one of the questions that I'm going to ask him next time we have it on. Is why the 3-point frequency went down, and obviously his percentages went down when he went to Miami. But I'm very curious, and he actually, he had some big 3-point nights in the playoffs.
For sure.
I mean, his first 2 weeks with the 76ers that year you're talking about, he hit 2 game-winning step-back threes. Like
side step.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like it doesn't have that shot. So I had sort of two observations that I sort of co-signed, or one observation that I co-signed and one observation that I completely disagree with that I saw on the Twitter blog or Twitter sphere on my timeline. Number one is that Jimmy has earned a right to take that shot. Like he's probably the main reason that they're in a position in the playoffs in a game 7 of the conference finals. He's having a big night. I thought it was a good shot for any star level player to take. I co-sign that. The part I disagree with was this notion that like Jimmy, in space, he's getting guarded by a 35-year-old Al Horford. And I'm like, I just brought up the stats. Have you watched the playoffs? This motherfucker guards. Come on. Are you serious?
Ain't going to his territory anyway.
He's dribbling down to his territory. Like we saw Horford guard Giannis well. Come on. Like what are we doing here?
He's backing up for Al Horford's backing up for a reason because he's like, if this dude wants to take me off the dribble to the rim, I am 7 feet. And I guard. I've been guarding my whole life. I guard. He's the only dude that I've witnessed, especially when I was in college, that can guard. That was guarding Embiid so well when he was with Boston before he went to Philly.
Those years he was in Boston. Yeah, he guarded.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro.
The last thing, you don't have to make a comment on this. The last thing I just want to mention, and I've talked about this a bunch as it relates to the Celtics, but I think it's important for the Warriors as well. I really believe this. Like the team who consistently limits their turnovers is probably going to win this series. You're talking about the number 1 defense in the league for the regular season, the number 2 defense in the league for the regular season. You're talking about number 2 in the playoffs in Boston, number 6 in Golden State. Like their defenses are good. It's going to be hard at times to score in the half court. And we've seen, especially with Boston, Game 3 is a great example of this. They shot well from the field. They had 23 turnovers. They come back in Game 4. They don't shoot well from the field. They have 9 turnovers, and they win. Like, their defense is good enough. You're putting yourself in a hole when you turn the ball over. And in the Warriors' case, we've seen this time and time again, these stretches of games where they just get a little sloppy. They're force-feeding back cuts. Steph's throwing one-handed left-hand passes over the shoulder. That's, to me, you're not going to get away with turnovers in this series. That's the last point I want.